Welcome back to All for United. We are live on a Sunday night. No, there's a better look to the panel. I know what you're thinking. What could that change be? Why is it instantly better looking? Callum's not here and I'm here. You're 100% correct. And I don't know how I knew you were thinking that, but he has been on his bike today and he's going to join us later and let us know how he got on his big bike ride for charity. So, yeah, we'll chat to him later, see how much he's chafing. Between now and then, I've got Stu, I've got James, I've got Hammer, and we're going to go through a number of things I want to chat about because, look, we're well, maybe you're watching this on Monday, maybe you're watching this tonight on Sunday, but we're like around 24 hours, almost just over 24 hours until Manchester United play their first game with Ten Hag in charge, play their first pre-season match. So I think naturally we need to talk about the pre-season and we need to talk about what Ten Hag needs to achieve during this pre-season tour. Of course, we're not Arsenal. We're not bothered about the Emirates Trophy. But what we do want to do is making sure that we're going to go into the season positively. So here are the talking points we're going to cover. I've come up with these. So new signings, squad unity, rise in individual confidence levels, deadwood sold, and poor fitness. These are 5 areas I think we've got to look at tonight and see if Ten Hag can make considerable headway during the pre-season tour to resolving some of these issues. And we'll start, I think, straight away, Stu, with new signings, because there's been some murmurs tonight about Frankie de Jong. He's back in Barcelona training from tomorrow. Patrick Berger, who's really, really, really good, really reliable, has come out and said that at the moment it's not looking likely. How long do we keep this going, Stu, until we move on to the next target?
Well, I would have knocked it on the head about 6 weeks ago, quite frankly. He's never one that's... He's never one that I would look at and think he'd be a perfect fit for us. I get the Ten Hag links. I get that Ten Hag's used him before, etc., etc., etc. I get all of that. But for me, and I've been speaking to a few people, and I've been ridiculed for it, same as somebody else in the chat at the minute, about I don't think de Jong really wants to come. I don't think he was fully invested in Manchester United. And people were saying, rubbish, the deal's done, blah, 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 blah. I've never bought into it. I don't think it's the right signing for us. Whatever people think, it's up to them. But he's got to decide now over the next week or 2 weeks what he's going to do with his starting 11. So if it was me, I'll be looking at 2 starting 11s. I'll be looking at a starting 11 out of the squad I've got in Bangkok currently, and then another starting 11 potentially. If I know I'm going to get Eriksen across the line and I'm going to get Martinez across the line, but I would take de Jong out of the equation and I would start looking at other areas. But like I say, I would have done it weeks ago. I just don't. And I've been on record as saying this 18 months ago. Nobody was talking about Frankie de Jong to Manchester United and what Frankie de Jong would do to Manchester United. There might have been a muttering from 1 or 2 fans, but collectively the fan base, he was never on our radar. So all of a sudden, because he's on the radar, it's got to be Frankie de Jong or nobody. Well, there's loads of good midfielders out there. We don't know how he wants to utilise Donny Van Der Beek. People are saying he'll put him as a 10 or a floating 8. But we all know how he played for Ajax, but he had de Jong in the side to do that. I personally would rather have Martinez in at centre midfield. Again, people are going to jump on it. He's a centre-back, blah, 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 blah. We'll just... watch what he does. Watch what he can. Look at how versatile he can be. He doesn't have to play him as a centre half. He can play him as a holding player, but a progressive holding player. So for me, Martinez is a better signing, a more crucial signing. If you bring Eriksen in, I think that's not a bad window with Malacia. I don't want to talk about Ronaldo because we don't know. We don't know what his thoughts are.
We'll come on to sales.
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about that in a minute, but Martinez would be the one for me anyway. At the 2, if you were to juggle de Jong and Martinez, I'd have had Martinez all day long. He's the one we should be concentrating on. But I don't think Frankie de Jong's ever really been interested in Manchester United. I think he sees it as a step down. I think his agents are telling him it's a step down. Players today want the path of least resistance. They want to be at a club that can guarantee them Champions League football. What a load of horse shit that is. It really is. You look at some of the clubs in the Europa League, You know, some of the history that was in the Europa League last season, AC Milan, Barcelona, some real history. It's not all about Champions League football. It's about cementing your legacy. And the way you cement your legacy is not to go via the path of least resistance all the time. Give yourself a challenge. You know, go to a club, revitalize that club. He hasn't got the balls. Frankie de Jong does not have the balls to come to Manchester United, whereas I think Martinez does. So for me, he's the better option.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I believe those rumours around that he doesn't want to come to United. I think there's a lot, and we speak about this a lot, Stu. There's a lot of twisting from the tabloids when they get a snippet and how they can reposition different stories. And you know, James is the best at it, James Ridge. But like for me, the thing for me that I think they're hanging on is the fact that De Jong is a Barcelona fan, and he obviously wants to stay at Barcelona. I mean, that is very different to not wanting to go to Manchester United. I mean, I know the two can sort of form a parallel, but that's all you're doing. You're forming that. I think ultimately with De Jong and where he's at the moment, and with a club like Manchester United coming in for him, if Barca turned around and said to him, look, you know, we don't want you anymore. We've actually got a club there that's going to pay your wages. We've agreed a deal. Like, you're going to go and play for your old manager that I know you love. Like, and also there's some people who are going to be in around the squad that we know that obviously you played with at Ajax or were part of a team with at Ajax as well. I think he jumps at a chance. I think he does go to United, you know, and he's happy at United. I mean, this is a very different situation to Di Maria, etc. But I don't buy the narrative that De Jong's coming out every day and going to, I don't want to join United. There is no way United get to this point of the deal if De Jong doesn't want to join Manchester United. I don't buy it.
I agree with you on that one, Ben. But you know, a club needs to be ruthless. And if Barcelona don't want him, move him. Sorry, Frankie, I'm not interested. We're not doing it. We're doing the deal. You're gone. That's it. The end. That's exactly what Real Madrid did with Di Maria.
But
you made a great point. You made a great point there. The Di Maria deal's brilliant because Real Madrid turned around and said, "We don't want you. You're gone." Period. And we shut the door. Fergie did it with Jaap Stam, didn't he? I don't want you anymore. You're out. Roy Keane, you're gone. Mark Hughes, you're gone. Paul Ince, you're gone. Barcelona are going to be this ruthless, and if they don't want him,
Stu, they can't because of the contracts and because of the money involved with his contract. It's just such a messy picture, and we always have this when it comes to player rights as well. It's such a messy picture because what Barcelona also can't afford to do right now is end up with a liability case and in a courtroom. That's one thing that they definitely cannot afford to do right now. So the whole thing's messy. And if you want me to be honest, I slightly agree with the side that you're on. I'm like, let's get out of that. Let's just leave them to that. This is too messy. Like, De Jong's a fantastic player. He's an opportunistic signing. He isn't a player that we should be signing with where we're at right now. If we get him, great. The deal's brilliant with what we're looking to pay up front. Like, fair enough if it's straightforward. It's clearly anything but straightforward. So why are we fucking bothering? Why are we doing all this? Because this is all going to come back down to it and what we're going to discuss. And I suppose this is my point of view. I personally think that all this going on is hindering Ten Hag's pre-season plans. It's hindering it. And it's a freaking nightmare. So I'm sort of on the fence a bit with it. James, where are you at with it at the moment with De Jong, and how much of an impact does this have for you? Because as a midfielder, you're that central pathway to the team. Surely, if you're going to bring in someone like De Jong who's going to play every game next season, because he will do, he needs to get embedded with that squad. He needs to get embedded with the players, and we need to start looking at forming those partnerships. Bringing him in a day before the first game of the season, it's just not viable, is it?
Yeah, no, I actually, believe it or not, I actually agree with something Stu said. I don't believe it personally, but yeah.
No, so you agree with Stu and not me? What?
Crikey.
Well, you both said the same thing pretty much, but yeah.
I've got that money. Give us your bank. I'll transfer it tonight.
He's not old enough to have a bank account, Stu.
honestly. But yeah, Frankie de Jong, like you said, he's a luxury player. He's a player that instantly improves United, but like you said, it's just, there's too much going on. You know, there's a lot of convincing to do. There's a lot of dealing with Barcelona right now is punishment for probably the worst punishment on earth in terms of a football club point of view, because they're a mess. It's completely ludicrous, this entire situation with Barca, with the unpaid wages and everything. The fact they're still allowed to sign players, the fact they haven't been forced to fold is just insane to me. So trying to then do any sort of logical business with them is painful enough. And I think the worst bit about it is, like we saw with the Sancho deal last year, is that we're focusing all our energy on De Jong because, understandably, Ten Hag said he's been rumoured to have said that his playing style at United will will be determined whether we sign De Jong or not. So I think De Jong is Ten Hag's priority. Obviously, it's very important to him that he gets him. But if we're neglecting deals for, say, Anthony, a striker, a centre back in Martinez, then maybe it is just time to cut loose, get more players that will have more of an impact and that sort of thing. And I actually also agree with what Stu said on Martinez. I think he has the skill set. We've seen it at Ajax at centre back. He can be modelled into a defensive midfielder if we need it. I don't think we're desperate for a centre back. I think Varane, when he's fit, is good enough. Maguire, with confidence, is more than good enough. Lindelof, deputising behind them, more than good enough. If they have a competent midfield in front of them, which I feel like if Ten Hag is willing to and is able to remodel Martinez, it's a pretty seamless transition anyway. I think that would be a more impactful signing for United than De Jong, because it's a like-for-like replacement with Pogba. But how much impact has Paul Pogba had on this squad over the past 2 years? We've probably been better without Paul Pogba when he's not been in. So
who, De Jong?
It's not,
what De Jong's like for like with Pogba?
Yeah, in terms of that deep line playmaker, not offering too much defensive responsibility.
That sort of thing. I'm going to disagree with you there, James.
Well, I mean, he's not the defensive midfielder we need. Put it that way. I think, especially if we're getting Eriksen in as well, who can play that deeper playmaker, that progressing the ball. I just think, as Stu said, Martinez feels like he's built for that transition now. He's 24. This is the perfect time to be really refining the player he is. He's got the defensive capability. He's clearly got the positional sense. Passing the ball, his passing statistics are insane, and it all seems too good to be true in terms of making him that player that United need. So I'd say, as unfortunate as it is, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Frankie de Jong in a United shirt, but at this stage, it's probably smarter for us to just bin him off. Maybe go in next year when Barcelona are undoubtedly in an even worse position and have to give him away for £2.50. If we have to give Ten Hag time. If we give him that time, we can afford to maybe wait a year on De Jong, reassess the situation, maybe work on a deal over the course of the year. So by the opening of the transfer window, he's ready in a United shirt. Obviously, we won't do that. We're not competent enough. But
like we did with Sancho, though, that's sort of what happened. Until we started, we didn't get him. But do you know what? Comparing the Sancho deal was a good one. But also, Nikog, sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly, pal. But again, this is a great example. And wasn't that Woodward's first transfer window as well as CEO, that he chased Fabregas all that summer for Moyes, and we never got him? And we're sort of seeing history repeat itself a little bit now with Murto and Arnold at the helm. You just hope that maybe they use history to teach them something and stop the madness. I think what's interesting is if we do go to Martinez and sort of try to move into that player, we have to sign a midfielder. We have to sign an actual midfielder this window for me. And I wonder if that's where maybe the Tielemans rumours come in, because he's a little bit more progressive as a midfielder. And I think if Ten Hag's going to play a midfield three, Tielemans might be a really, really good option there as someone who can play maybe in a midfield three with Bruno, maybe with Eriksen, with a Martinez behind, with a Fred, and maybe there's a chance there to also weaken another Premier League club, because I think that's what City have done well with their signings. Maybe Cucurella and Calvin Phillips. You're buying two players there who already know the Premier League really well, improve your squad, but also weaken an opposition as well that maybe you'll come up against and struggle against. Those of you watching, I'm going to come over to you, Hammer, in just a second. Just want to say evening to Andrew. Jarvis is on as well. John's on. GXC Miller is on as well. Ole! God, you're going to found us. Thank you, Ollie. Hello to Connor, who said, I said weeks ago about De Jong. ITK Connor Roberts. Loads of people here getting involved in the live chat. Please join in the discussion as we chat, and we'll try and get through some of your comments as we talk. But also hit subscribe on the channel and like as well. And I think whilst we talk about Ten Hag, it's also a good cross promote to say you need to go and watch Stu, Abdul, and Ajax's tactical special on Erik Ten Hag as well, where basically they'll hit on more in-depth stuff that we're sort of talking about now as well, around fitness, around unity, around man management. So it's well worth watching. It's on our channel now. Hammer, let me come over to you. One last bit on De Jong, because then I want to talk about other positions and where we go next. Yeah. So if we do cut the ties with De Jong, move on to the next potential signing, United have always said that they're prioritising a midfielder this window. So if we go and get Martinez, technically a centre-back needs to be moulded into a midfielder. I'm going to go back to the point I said a minute ago about Tielemans, Ruben Neves. Do we still need to go out in the window and buy a midfielder?
Yeah, I think we definitely do. I think it's necessary. And honestly, I think, with Ericsson as well and things like that, we would have needed more than one midfielder anyways. Also with the amount of people that's left. So yeah, both those names you brought up when you were talking about Tielemans, I was gonna say Neves as well. Those are both of the kind of the characters that you were just talking about as well in terms of weakening opponents who do give us challenges and also bolstering the team overall. And then also in terms of the De Jong specifically, one, I think this is a big money thing issue. I know there's the wages owed and all that, but it's also just the era that we're in and when it comes to money and things like that. People want to get paid a certain level and all that type of crap. And then also off of what one of the things James said, and I think he kind of said it quick, but it made me think about a lot of stuff, is the luxury signing. Right, we did the same thing with Pogba. If you think about it, right, we're talking about a rebuild now. We're talking about want to play a certain style. We want to get people playing a certain way, a certain mentality. It's kind of unnecessary to an extent when you bring in certain luxury signings, but you don't have the rest of the team ready around it. Because then what is that person gonna? That person's gonna get hindered at some point. So I think there's that point to think about it as well. If it's getting this complicated, we should pull out, work on strengthening the team in other places, getting other midfielders as well. And then, like I think James also said, wait that extra year, see if you can get him even cheaper, and then bring him in when everything is easier. But yeah, I think the luxury signing is a big point. We're getting to a point where we want to do things different and we want to change it and change the direction that we've been going in. We got to fix the team and then worry about those really big names.
Yep, I'm with you there. And talking about big names and fixing the team, Stu, obviously midfielder De Jong's one of them. Tielemans, Ruben Neves, take the names out of the hat. It looks like Martinez is a player we're looking at, but Ajax are dragging their heels there. Is there another position that you think United should be looking at? Because it looks like Antony isn't going to be an attainable option. So when it comes to attack, even forgetting what Ronaldo's doing, where do we need to look to improve in that forward line? And have you got any names to throw in the hat?
Not really with the forward line. I wouldn't go out and I think it's an area we don't necessarily need to strengthen. I think you're going to see a much better Sancho this season, a much better Rashford this season. I think you're going to see a rejuvenated Martial as well. I really do. I think from that point of view, there's other areas of the team we need to fix. I don't necessarily think we need to bother too much about a right back. There's a lot of rumours around the minute we need a right back, but I wouldn't be looking at the front three, front four, front five at the minute and what we've got. We've got some good players. If Ronaldo goes, though, you're going to have to replace 20 goals. Now, as a couple of lads were saying on a stream earlier on in the week, that the way that Ten Hag will play will get more tap-ins, etc., etc. You've got to be in there. You've got to have the knowledge to be in there. I've spoken about that with our number 11 on multiple occasions. You've got to have that instinct to be there. So I think we will increase our goal productivity and our goal output. But you're not going to replace 20 goals. And I don't think you'll share it around enough.
Stu, just quickly on that, because I heard that and I forgot to send you this message and ask you this question because we always chat about football. What was said there? Do you think that dispels this myth around Ten Hag fancying a false nine system this season? Because as you say, a Ten Hag team that's on it, creating chances, needs someone there who can finish them. And a false nine or a number 10 mentally works different to an out-and-out number 9. And we always say this.
Yeah, what they tend to do is they tend to drift in. They find the space really, really cleverly, a false 9 or a 10 will, or an attacking 8. They'll find the space beautiful, they'll drift in. But you've got to make sure that when you get into that position, you're putting the ball in the back of the net if it comes to you and you're in space. I've said this on plenty of occasions that Ronaldo, if you look back throughout the season, has given us that breakthrough when we've needed it and we've only had one strike on goal and he's put it away. And that is the difference between a high-level striker and a player that can drift into the box, get a clean strike up, but might not have the ability or the clinical nature or clinical side to him to be able to stick it away. And that's the key element to it. So if you look at the way that Sebastian Haller plays at Ajax, it was awful at West Ham, but Ten Hag used him slightly differently, but he used him as a box player. So a lot of their goals, they were beautifully created outside the box, but when the ball came into it, Haller was there to 9 out of 10 times put it away. And that's going to be the key element to it. Bruno's not as clinical. Rashford won't be as clinical. Martial used to be. It'll be interesting to see where he is at the minute. Alanga isn't, nor is Sancho. So these are great players to attack the diagonal, but they don't have the instinct in and around the 6-yard box, which I've spoken about a lot. So I do believe that we will get more goals created by the way that Ten Hag wants to play, but I think we still need that clinician up front, bang. When it comes to you, bang. And let me just cite one more. My favourite goal from Ronaldo's was the Arsenal away goal. The cross from Telles was supreme, but to get in between two big centre halves, bring it down and loop it over, nobody else in our side could have done that. If that's your one chance, there's your one goal. Yeah, people have got to remember this. Football isn't about tippy-tappy, tapping in from 2 or 3 yards. It's about creation. Chance creation. Can you finish? Sorry, it was Matic. Yeah, sorry. You're right, Aaron. It was Matic, not Tellers. But it's all about chance creation. So.
I was going to say there's lots of shouts in the live chat about Dybala, and I personally I quite like that. Again, I quite like that transfer, but he isn't that striker that Stu's just talking about. He is more of a hard-working forward that has flashes of brilliance that can also now and then do the top job. But the two main elements there that Stu's talking about is concentration and intelligence, and you can't teach those. As a number 9 at the elite level, you've either got it or you haven't. But then you also, a bit like Haller, don't have to be intelligent or smart or fancy in other areas. You've just got to have that, the intelligence, and also, again, the focus to be able to be there when you need to be there and to carry on and carry on and carry on. And again, that's something you can always guarantee from Ronaldo. James, again, incomings, just want to quickly talk about this. There's other positions that we may look at. Obviously, outgoings will be dependent on that. But is there another area that you would look to strengthen before the window closes, aside from maybe Martinez, Eriksen, and what ifs, buts, and maybes with Ronaldo?
I mean, your obvious answer is a right back, but it's who you get in at this point, who's realistically available and ready to come in and make a difference. I think we missed the boat with Mazraoui. I think you're never going to beat Bayern to a signing in this day and age, so that's fair enough. But if you're talking players, right backs come at a premium. There's not that many great right backs in the world, so you're going to have to pay a lot for them, and we just don't have that sort of money. So I'll stick with striker, and I'll say, I was sort of disappointed that potential move for Brobbey broke down. I think he's going to go to Ajax now. And don't get me wrong, when we were first linked with him, I was a bit like, he's a bit naff. Why are we linked with him? But I am very unemployed, as you're eager to point out at any given opportunity. So I spent some time actually looking at him. Looking at what tacticians on Twitter were saying about him, actual tacticians, not Stu's Twitter tactics people that he likes to rant about. And when you look at the numbers that he's putting up underlying, he fits that mold that Ten Hag likes in a striker. He's 6'1", very built. He's equipped for the Premier League physically. He's got very, very good movement off the ball, good with the ball at his feet. There's a lot of rough edges to smooth out, and if you give him a striker who needs smoothing out, you'd probably give him to Ten Hag, given what he did to Sebastian Haller. So I think
that was my point, James. I was trying to make that point. You've done it better for me. I don't know much about this robbery or whatever he's called him. Whenever we speak about him, I keep thinking about that Brad Bobley character that he did on Soccer AM. I don't know why, but I hadn't seen a lot of him, and I'd read a tiny bit about him, and I didn't know he got that ability to think, because he's not brilliant outside the box, is he? He's okay, but he's not great outside the box. But I did read that inside he's diamond. Do you know what
I liked about him as well is that if he wasn't going to be a plan A, he could be a plan B, because he's different. He's strong and he's physical as well. And so if he's not going to be your plan A option, for instance, you go for someone else who is maybe a little bit, we always talk about this, Stu, when it comes to defenders. Some look fashionable, some don't. Again, Absolutely. It's the same with strikers. He might not be this fashionable number 9 that's got got this and that about him and twinkle toes, blah blah blah. But he could be another option late in a game, or or he could come in and take some slack away from the main number 9. So, and I think when you look at transfers like that, it's a good potential move. Yeah, I like that shout. But if he's going to go to Ajax, then
He's
It's
cheap,
just a little
isn't
bit
he?
unfortunate as
He's
well. Yeah,
cheap,
about
isn't
12
he?
million, 12 million, 30 million. Yeah, it was one that we could have potentially jumped in. Hammer, sorry, just quickly, last one for you, and then I've got another question for you quick, but just really, really quickly. And in another position that you think Ten Hag needs to look at and maybe address.
Well, yeah, it will be quick because in terms of the strikers, you guys were saying, my issue is I'm not really being able to think of who is something that could fit and who is readily available right now. And then also, just are we assuming Sancho's going back over to the right in this upcoming season?
Who
Or is
knows?
he, because if he's staying out left, then the right side would be one of those things that probably need to get some type of address because Alanga's not ready. None of the younger guys are ready. So, that's another thing in the attack that could need to be addressed if it's Sancho staying out left.
I tell you what, I'm gonna have a shout here, and it might happen, it might not happen, but I'm gonna look at a missed it ball. I think he will really like Falcondo Pelistri. I'm just putting that out there because he is that type of player that thrives with a manager like Ten Hag. He's got that know-how, that intelligence, back and forth down that wing. The only thing that I would say is I don't think he works with a Dalot because Dalot's too one-dimensional going forward. And you just need a little bit more cover there if Pelistri, for instance, doesn't come back at some point. The player that he could work with, and it's someone we've been rumoured with today, is Walker Peters. Now, he's not the best right back in the league. He's a good young talent. He's better going forward maybe than he is defensively. But a bit like Malacia, he does that. He works well under Hasenhüttl, and Hasenhüttl is a positional genius. Like the way he sets his teams up is in a similar philosophy to a Ten Hag type manager. And I think as a wild card, if we brought in someone like a Walters Peters, it may give us room to experiment a little bit further forward with our right winger to try and form a partnership there. And I think if that transfer does happen, we'll see Brandon Williams go the other way. But that leads me on now, Hammer, to outgoings. Again, I don't think it's healthy that Ten Hag's taken a squad on tour with 10 players that potentially might not even be at the club by the end of the transfer window. Now, whether that's loan or sell, there's still so many futures up in the air there, Hammer. Are you slightly worried about that?
I mean, I think it was something that everybody was needing to think about and worry about from the beginning, right? Not just in terms of the bigger name players who we knew just were leaving anyways. Some of the vets that have left, they're already on the way out. I'm worried in the sense that I don't know if we're gonna get a right amount of people to come back in and fill up the squad to a level that needs to be in terms of numbers of players, but also just in terms of what people like to talk about with Ten Hag a lot is in terms of progressing people. I'm really interested because and by the way, I'm on board for a long rebuild. Like I'm okay with it. So like I really want to see if it's true how good Ten Hag can work with young players, how good he is at progressing players, right? Like whether it's players like Rashford who've hit a wall and need a reset, or whether it's just any of these youth players who people want to have high expectations for. Somebody like Ten Hag's the one who's going to be able to get the best out of them, supposedly. So it's worrying in terms of the numbers if we're going to have a proper squad to start the season in terms of getting people to fill in if that many people do really leave. But I'm also just interested to see how this whole thing is going to get started with Ten Hag in his first year.
Yeah, still, I suppose the point I'm trying to get at is how disruptive is this? You've got players in the squad that we know have thrown their toys out the pram before because they're not starting. They're now under a new regime, a new manager. You could say new start, but just flicking through the list here, right? You've got people like, let's have a look at Eric Bailly, I'd even say Dalot, Tellez, Tuanzebe, Wan-Bissaka. You've then got the likes of, Amad's probably going to go back out on loan. You've then got the likes of Charlie Savage is probably going to go back out on loan. Pelistri, who knows? I still think he probably would end up on loan. Then you've got like Taof Chong in there. You've got, we know for a fact that Martial at some point wanted out. He looks all smiles at the moment, so I don't know where that's at now. Is that disruptive to have those influences, do you think, in and around the tour squad when you're preparing for a new start, a new era, a new manager to try and take this team forward? Is this because it's not like second chances, is it, Stu? These guys have all had chances.
Yeah, there's a couple of areas we need to consider. First and foremost, he's had no choice. He's got to take a squad, and that's where he is. So that's your first thing. The second thing is, as a footballer, as a professional, you should be doing everything you possibly can to get yourself in that starting 11. And I've said this on many occasions because, when I was playing, I used to do everything I could in the off season. I would train. And when we were going and training on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and we were either playing friendlies on a Saturday or training Saturday morning, I made sure I was one of the fittest when I got back there. Okay, and I'd up my game, because you're always going to bring in new players, so you've got to scratch and you've got to fight yourself back into the first team. Our problem last season was complacency. You know, Bruno was complacent because he was starting every game. Ronaldo would start 90% of the games complacent. Maguire complacent. De Gea complacent. You know, all these players that start every single game, you get complacent. Well, I'm going to play anyway, whether I'm playing at the highest level or not. So you should be, as an individual, as a man, making sure you're fully prepared. So if I'm Bailly, I'm Tuanzebe, I'm looking at it as a fresh start and I'm seeing what I can do. The other thing you've got to consider, that the reason Fernandes and Shoreteri didn't go out there was because they're looking to go on loan, and they've got some loan moves lined up, which could lead you to believe that there's nothing lined up for the squad that he's got. And going right back to what I said at the very beginning, Ten Hag has got an issue. He will have to have 2 starting 11s, a starting 11 out the squad he's got on tour, and a starting 11 about 1 or 2 players that may be coming in. So he's got an issue. But from what I was asked a question about, you know, should we be encouraged about what you see in training? Not really, because you're only ever going to see the basic 1, 2, 3 touch football, etc. They'll only show you what they want to see. But it does look like, and we've spoken about this before, Ben, how meticulous Ten Hag is, his attention to detail, and he's obviously quite infectious. So you're going to see, I would say, a completely different Bailly if he plays the second half against Liverpool on Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever the game is. It's the same with Palestri. You're going to see different types of players. And you may even see someone like Tuanzebe. You know, Ten Hag might have looked at him and said, listen, mate, I see you as a right back. I don't see you as a centre half. I see you as a right back. You are going to train as a right back, you know. So there's all sorts of things that could happen. But would I be concerned? Sometimes you just got to get on with it, Ben. I'm sorry to say, you just got to get on with it, mate. You do it on a Wednesday night when you go on there. You look at the players around you and think, fuck, he's useless. He's useless. We've got to just get on with it. And what happens? You win the game by 4.
I mean, it's interesting. I get your point, James. I suppose one of the things for me that obviously I'm slightly concerned at with this and some of the players is obviously we're giving them chance after chance. But it would probably be interesting to hear from you maybe what you think around the 5 sub rule. Do you think one of the reasons why maybe Ten Hag is being really cautious with who he leaves out? Because we've seen managers in the past, Bailly, no future, stay at home with the under-23s and just train there. I think Spurs have done that to some of their players, and as have some other clubs who have gone on tours. But do you think because of this 5 sub rule, maybe Ten Hag's trying to tread a little bit carefully in case he doesn't get some of the incomings that he wants?
Potentially, yeah. I think regarding the not taking them and, you know, not giving them a second chance and all this, you know, Ten Hag's coming in with realistically a brand of football we won't have seen at Old Trafford at least since Fergie retired. So there's no surefire way of knowing that these players that could leave won't work under Ten Hag. I think this pre-season has to be their last chance, don't get me wrong, but, you know, keeping them around can't hurt. You know, if we're going to sell them, we're going to sell them anyway. But, like, take wan-bissaka, for example. If Ten Hag sees a player there, then we've still got cover for right back. That's money saved that could be going elsewhere. You know, Eric Bailly or Tuanzebe, if he sees Tuanzebe could have the skill set to be a decent player under Ten Hag. He fits the mold. He's not overly physical. Neither was Timber. He's good on the ball, like Timber was. You know, I'm not comparing the two in that sense. He's nowhere near the player, but Ten Hag could have a use for these players. So I think it's worth keeping them around. But yeah, he also, like you said, he has to keep a big enough squad. You know what injuries are like. It's going to be, there's a lot of there's a lot of matches coming up with the Europa League as well. So it's going to be, you know, we're going to need a big enough squad to compete as well.
Yeah, it's all going on. I can't wait to see some of the youngsters. By the way, tomorrow we're going to do a show with Mr. Mujak, Tony, on some of the young lads who are going on tour, but also some of the lads who have missed out. I've seen Aaron put here. I was surprised not to see McNeil on the tour. I think that's down to his physicality. I don't think he's there yet, but I'll ask the question to Mr. Mujak, Tony, and see what he thought. There's some right back options coming in here. People talking about the pursuit of Anthony, also the cost of tickets in Bangkok as well. Talking about Bangkok, he's been going up against his saddle all day. Let's see where he is. There he is.
Hello, I'm in Blackpool. Like, look, there's Blackpool Tower.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
See, that some fan channels are in Bangkok. You're in Blackpool.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to them. Some people get Bangkok. I get Blackpool for 100 miles. It's great, isn't it?
Go on, quickly. We've got 130 people watching, Callum. Tell them what you've done today and tell them where they can donate.
So I've so my pin. I think it's my pin tweet. If you want to donate, it'd be very appreciated. I've done a 63-mile bike ride today for my friend's brother. Unfortunately, he died in a motorbike accident, but the Northwest Air Ambulance allowed his family to say goodbye to him today. Goodbye to him a couple of months ago. We've done the bike ride today for him, so we had his picture on the back of our t-shirts. We had loads of coverage. We had loads of people asking who he was and what we were doing. So it was brilliant. Obviously, I should be hosting this show, and usually it's a lot better. But you know, sometimes things go wrong, don't they? Yeah, I'm just out tonight, so I might be a little bit skew-whiff and a little bit slurring. But I thought I'd come on and show my face. But yeah, we did a charity ride today, and I'm proper knackered. But yeah, I appreciate Ben for letting me come on and say hello and tell you what I did today. So if anyone does want to donate, I'd be very appreciative of it. We did hit our target, but you know, obviously as much money as possible is always brilliant. It helps the charity, it helps us. And my friend is here tonight, and he was heartbroken when his brother died. You know, it was a complete accident. It was awful for him, but you know, any help for him is always amazing, and his family is so lovely. And it was the worst thing in the world. You could never imagine what was going to happen. But you know, I do appreciate everything that everyone's done for him, and me and my friend Jess and Mike did the bike ride for him today. We raised £800 for him, but any more would be amazing. But I also want to say, as much as Ben's allowed me the coverage for today, I can't believe I've come onto this video when James was talking. That was crazy. James actually said a word in a video.
He hasn't shut up all show, Callum.
You are.
He hasn't shut up all show. He's been going and going. What I've done, by the way, just so you know, so I've tweeted it out from All for United. So if you follow us on Twitter, go check it out there. I've also put the link to the tweet in the live chat. So yeah, well done, Callum, mate. You've done well today, and well done to everyone else who was involved. That's a tough ride, that.
Ben, in all seriousness, mate, I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for tweeting that out, and anyone that retweets it, I'm obviously really appreciative of it. Like, honestly, I don't mean this in a jokey way, but that's a very, very long way to sit on a bike seat. My bum and my legs are killing me. Like, and I mean really hurting. Like, I'm really, really struggling. Like, my bum is killing me. My thighs are killing me. Like, it was hard that today. And obviously, I don't mean it in a jokey way, but my the northwest of England is very hilly. Apparently, I never realised this before. And Jesus, it really and it was hard work today. So everybody that did it, we had another charity. We had a couple of other charities that were obviously doing it for loads of different people. It was Leeds charity, Leeds Hospital charity for the landlady, the pub we go in. Her sister died, and they helped her out loads. Honestly, it was a hard day today, but it was worth it. As soon as we got past that finish line, it was so good. And Ben, I genuinely do want to say thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that, mate. And I
hope you get a couple more quid, mate. Look, there's a piece of.
That's for you, is it, Cal?
That's for you, Cal. That's to sort you out.
I meant to message you earlier, Cal. I meant to message you earlier to tell you to take loads of jelly babies. Chew about 2 or 3 jelly babies.
I took load of blackjacks. You know the old blackjacks. Honestly, I had about 9 in my bag, and I had 6 of them. And I tell you what, it was great up until the last 5 miles when the Blackpool Sea, which is there,
Yeah.
That Blackpool seat, the wind was just hitting me. I couldn't get any speed on the bike. It was awful for the last 5 miles. I just couldn't do anything. It's horrible.
Brilliant.
But, you know,
Well, you've done it, mate. You've smashed
Well
it.
done,
You've
mate.
absolutely
Well done.
smashed it. Well, look, we're
Yeah.
going to go. Your signal keeps going a little bit funny, so we're going to go back and talk about football, pal. But Callum does this show at 10 o'clock every Sunday night. So make sure you're watching now. There's loads you watching now. Hit subscribe. You'll see Callum on here. You'll see Stu. You'll see James. You'll see Hammer every Sunday night. So well done, mate. Go and find someone to
nice
hear
one,
about.
lads. I really appreciate the shares and stuff. Now, go and enjoy, and I'll be back next Sunday to host. See you later.
Mate. Speak to you in a minute. Bye, mate. Bye-bye. There we go. There was Callum. Good to hear from him.
That's a tough ride. That is fucking fair play to him. That is a really, really tough ride.
I've also forgotten now what we were talking about, which is absolutely superb. We were talking about outgoings, weren't we? Hammer, out of some of those names, I was going to come over to you with the next question. By the way, if you want to go down, let's Callum do it. Back onto the football chat. We've got so many more points to cover in like the next half an hour, so we need to skim through them. Players going out. If you had to list 3 players at the moment who are coming on tour, you think United will sell, who would you go for, Hammer? And I'll get 3 from each of you.
Oh, who are we gonna end up selling? Let's see. I could see potentially if he doesn't show up to what Ten Hag might want to see, I could see potentially a buy. I know people were saying he could show something, but it's also in terms of, like you guys were talking about, the chances people get. So if it's something with trying to get money, it could be somebody like that. Damn, 3. I don't know, man.
I can tell you mine.
Go ahead.
My 3 would be Eric Bailly, Brandon Williams. I just Brandon. And the other one for me, I'm going to go a left field one. Taof Chong. I think if you're going to get any money for him, now's the time to sell him. Otherwise, you've got the chance that he's going to roll over. He's going to end up going on free. I don't think the quality's there for him, especially with some of the other younger options we've got as well. And we're in the market for a right winger. What's the point in just sending him on loan again? Find him a club, get some money for him. Just done.
I would move out Bailly. I'd actually keep Brandon Williams. I think he's quite versatile. So Telles would be one for me, and Chong. So those have been my 3.
There's Bailly and Chong. Go on, James. You want to say something?
I'd get rid of wan-bissaka while you can still get decent money for him. Otherwise, he's going to be gone in for 10 million in 2 years. I don't care. I'd get rid of Ronaldo. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'd get rid of him. He doesn't want to be here. I think we're better without him. Controversial, I don't care. But yeah, wan-bissaka, Ronaldo, and Alex Telles. He has to go as well. Has to go.
Go on, Hammer. Do you want to have one more go at giving us a list?
Come on, Hammer. Don't put Ferreira in there because we sold him.
No, hey, don't even let me do that.
Pre-season furlough.
I'm surprised it took him that long to get rid of him there. So I see somebody commented on Zebi. That's a good shout too. I think James said that he might have some of the things that Ten Hag might like, but again, he's one of those players who, well, he got limited chances, but he just ends up going out on loan. So I think we're turning into some of those situations where we're just holding on to players and just recycling them. And if we're not going to use them, get them out. And when you said Chong, how old is Chong? Because I swear I've been hearing his name for a minute. He just keeps going on loan.
23,
24, something like that.
Yeah, so, we're looking at bringing in a 24-year-old in Martinez. So why are we still loaning out a 23-year-old in Chong?
So 2 in Zabi, Chong, and one more. Williams?
Bailly was my
Oh, Bailly, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hammer likes Williams. He likes him. He's like me, he likes him.
I like somebody who's going to,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why wan-bissaka has to stay.
Look, all I'm saying is, if we ever get to the point where Dalot and Williams are our starting fullbacks,
that would be.
I'm heading to Blackpool Beach and walking in that sea. I'm halfway there just with Dalot actually I'm 75% there with just Dalot being anywhere near this United team. Can't stand. Do you know what? I'm sorry, and I'm really sorry, and I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't get it. Even last season when people were fanboying over him, I was sat there and I was like, do I not understand football? Yeah,
you mean for Dalot? It's the step overs.
Yeah, but
that's what. No, I'm so serious.
Else.
It was a little bit of a joke, but I'm also so serious. Everybody loves the step overs, and they think he can put in a nice cross and shit.
He's
No,
just
not
so
for me.
bad at everything else. There's so many people here like getting in touch and putting stuff. John McGuire's also with some bits and pieces there. Thank you, John. Jarvis in the comments as well. Thank you, guys. Right, the bigger outgoing, and I'm just going to get a couple of minutes from each of you on this, if possible. Stu, how important is it that we sort out the Ronaldo situation? Go.
Yeah, well, it needs to be done. But look, I was on record the other night saying if I was Manchester United, I'd just tell Ronaldo, shut up, get back to pre-season. You're going nowhere. You've got a year left on your contract. I thought it was great, actually, when they launched the kit images. they used his image. I thought it was great because fair play to the club. For once, they turned around and almost said, tough. You can cry as much as you like. A lot of people will say, you know, you shouldn't really keep him if he doesn't want to be here, blah, 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 blah. Tough. You're contracted for 12 months, you stay, the end. That's where I lie with it.
James, let's look at it from another angle. United forced him to stay. Is that an even more disruptive element to having a dressing room that's potentially unneeded?
Absolutely. That's what I was going to be part of my point into why to get rid of him. If you force him to stay here, we know he's a miserable bastard at the best of times. If you then add insult to injury, he's influential enough to tear that dressing room apart. I mean, he 6 months in, he was wrestling the captain's armband off Harry Maguire and getting the support of most of the dressing room in doing so. So if you then force him to stay, the fuss it's going to kick up, the pressure that's going to then put on Erik Ten Hag to settle already very difficult to manage dressing room, it's just so unnecessary. I think we have to get rid of him.
Hammer, on the opposite point of view, Ronaldo let him go. How much of Man United let Ronaldo go. Ronaldo let him go. This is literally the issue. Man United let Ronaldo go. How much of a disruption and loss to the team is that? But now we have got to plan to go out there and get a proper good forward, like Stu was explaining.
Well, at that point, it's just numbers, right? At that point, it's just replacing the 20 goals. Believe me, I get the whole Ronaldo's thing. You know, it's for me, Ronaldo, and I remember y'all don't love it when I use American examples, but Ronaldo's LeBron James, right? All the teams he's been to, he has won and all that type of stuff. The level of that people think he is in their sport, right? Like one of the GOATs, all that type of things. But if you let him go, if you know, just like James said, he's going to destroy the locker room. That's the type of pull he has, the type of pull LeBron has in every locker room he goes to. You move on, and like people have been saying a lot on Twitter, if you want to really talk about a rebuild or a new era, whatever, new era is not going to be with Ronaldo in 2 years' time. So yeah, you can either do what Stu says and say, hey, listen, too bad, you got a good contract left and let it go out, but get a little bit of money, get him out, and really let a new mentality, a new leader, somebody's going to have to step up. And that's I think a little bit of a point too. If you get Ronaldo out, somebody has to step up, or it's just not going to be leaders in the locker room.
I think.
Isn't the bigger question who actually wants him? Because I've heard nothing in terms of clubs that are interested. Look, the Chelsea thing, I think that Todd Bowley, quite frankly, is using it as a smokescreen. I think he's going balls out for Neymar. I really do. Could he end up at PSG? Who knows? But who really wants Ronaldo? Seriously, because as soon as Ronaldo or a player like that comes on the market, Mendes doesn't have to go around shopping for him or you know, pimping him out. You know, Ronaldo's on the market. If there are serious clubs, Box is right. There are serious clubs. You snatch Ronaldo like that. You don't mess around if you want him. So I think that's a bigger question. Who wants him?
Can I quickly say there's over 100 you watching right now. Let's get this over 50 likes like right this second, because if you like it, it'll help us grow. So just quickly, it take you 1 second, just smash that like button, and whilst you're at it, hit subscribe as well. And of course, you can get in the live chat with us and obviously chat with us anytime you like. I'm just having a look here. Sorry, just a quick one away from Ronaldo. Ducker has done a big piece for the Telegraph saying that United, his sources tell him that United have been given assurances that Frankie de Jong is willing to move to United, but it's in the event his salary issues with Barcelona can be resolved. So I think everyone pointed to the salary issues.
How the fuck? I don't know. I think I tweeted that de Jong's a better guy than me. That's a lot of money to be like, okay, I won't take for now. Because the combined of that, how much is that fully? Because I know one was like 12 million, right?
16 million euros, something like that is what is owed. Yeah.
I would not be taking that type of cut.
I think on the Ronaldo situation, I just want to say that, again, a bit like de Jong, I think he just has to be resolved ASAP, because it's just, again, it's a disruption. Ten Hag doesn't really know what he's playing with until these situations are sorted out. Pre-season is crucial. We're now eating into pre-season. It can't eat into the start of the season. So it has to be dealt with. And something has to happen. We can't let history repeat itself. If Ronaldo doesn't want to be here and there's a suitor, you need to let him go. Or if you're going to keep him, you need to make him play by your rules and let him know that you're the boss, not him. So again, it's a catch-22 situation because you don't know how he's going to react in any circumstance. But a decision just has to be made and it has to be solid. So we will wait and see. Right, I want to move on to...
Though Frankie de Jong quickly. What if Barcelona take 16 million euros less then on the up fee? We pay him 16 million euros.
I think what they're hoping for is that United will come in and go, don't worry, Frankie, we'll give you a €6 million signing on fee. Or don't worry, Frankie, we'll give you X amount or pay you more.
Don't pay over. Pay 16 million less and then give him the 16 million euros. Done deal. I think
that's United's point, though. That's why we've agreed the base fee. And then we're going, right, we'll pay you add-ons, but we're not paying you more add-ons to cover his salary that you can't pay. So
absolutely.
If anything, it's a good stance from the club, but it's freaking frustrating because we're coming back to this. It's something else that needs to be resolved during pre-season because it can't go on. One area, Stu, that we talk about all the time with the players in this side is individual confidence levels, and that's the third point I want to get to now. You've had a great chat with Ajax and Abdel around Erik Ten Hag's man management. How crucial is it for him as a brand new manager going into a group of players that he doesn't know, who are at rock bottom with confidence, to try and use this time on this pre-season tour to raise those confidence levels?
Yeah, look, it's massively crucial. I think there's two things he can do. He can either go in and use the arm around the player approach, which I absolutely detest, or he should go in and lay the law down. And I think he's gone in and laid the law down. Apparently, he's a fantastic motivator. He's absolutely infectious. He's got a huge attention to detail. But what he does, he doesn't say and not do. He does. He says and he does, so to speak. So he's on there and he's talking about it, but he demonstrates as well. And this is really, really key. A lot of our managers over the last couple of years have just allowed the coaches to lay out drills, but they've not really been involved. They've not done anything. There comes a time, and it starts when you're 5 years, 5 years of age, and you're all chasing the ball around, and you blow the whistle, and you tell them to stand around like statues, and then you demonstrate why you shouldn't be where you are and where you should be. He has that approach to him. You're doing it wrong. Stop where you are. This is why you're doing it wrong. I need you here, not there. You're not listening to me. So that's the type of thing. And your confidence will come. You know me. Your confidence should come out of you as a person anyway. It shouldn't come because somebody says, "Oh, you've been really great this weekend. That's absolutely brilliant." You should know whether you're playing well or not. Within yourself. What you need from a manager is clear, concise instructions. This is what I want from you. This is how you're going to do it. And I promise you, if you do what I say, C will appear. So A, B, and C. And that's what you need to. I think it's crucial. I like him. I like his attitude. So people were, and I'll shut up now, but people were going on about these five rules. Oh, they're all stupid rules. Bollocks. 5 rules. Get them done. If you deviate any of those, you're going to suffer this, and this. I don't care if you're the best player. This is the thing. You've got to lay the law down. And these players need it. They've been weak mentally for years now. So,
sorry, mate. Yeah, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really like Simon Jordan and Jim White on TalkSport because Simon Jordan is just no nonsense. He'll just say whatever's in his head, and some people love it, some people hate it. But I really liked what he was saying behind the one of let's come to me, not your agent. And he probably doesn't mean it like that. What he means behind that is the hidden message of I ain't talking to your agent. So if you've got a problem, I'm not answering a call off your agent, nor am I going to listen to anyone else who says that they've answered a call off your agent. You come and speak to me. I think that's so important. One-on-one communication, so important. Great points made, Stu. James, let me come over to you. On confidence, there's so many players that we could hit on individually within this squad, but I want to talk about one player in particular. Donny Van Der Beek is a player who came into United. He didn't hit the ground running, so to speak. He went out on loan. Didn't really get a game, did he, for Everton? When you think about it, he got 1 or 2, but that he's there for 6 months. Had a couple of injuries. How important is it that Stu, the approach he doesn't like, the arm around the shoulder approach, actually he gets that from Ten Hag because it's a man he knows. It's someone he's confident with. So Donny Van Der Beek, what do you reckon?
Yeah, well, whatever Ten Hag chooses to approach Van Der Beek with will be best. It's worked in the past, obviously. He's the only manager to get the best out of Donny Van Der Beek in his career. So he'll know what approach to go with, and I have no doubt that it'll work. The only issue I have is, we're hearing Van Der Beek will be a big part of his side. He'll play more of an active role, but realistically, where? If we're signing Frankie de Jong, if we're signing Christian Eriksen, where does Donny Van Der Beek fit in the side? I get he did fantastically at Ajax, but he's made it. With Eriksen's done. That's finalised as good as. He's made it very clear that he wants Frankie de Jong. That's his. If he doesn't get Frankie de Jong, they'll probably go for another midfielder. So unless we're going to have some heavy squad rotation, which we don't have the players nor the depth to do that, I'll open that up to everyone else. Where does Donny Van Der Beek fit in? I get it's a bit of a sidetrack to the question you asked, but it's just been on my mind for a couple of weeks now.
I think he flips with Bruno. I know that's controversial, and I'll get accused of not understanding football, blah, 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 blah. But I think he flips with Bruno. James, you make a brilliant point.
But then where does Eriksen play?
Well, I think the Eriksen, I don't think Eriksen starts every game. I think Eriksen is cover for de Jong. Well,
can I quickly butt in on Eriksen?
Yeah.
There's an old wives' tale in football, and Stu, you'll stick up for this. Starting a player that's absolutely worldy at set pieces is worth 2 players in its weight of gold, no matter what else they offer to the team. I just wonder, United are shocking at set pieces. But, and this is a big but, and again, it comes back to Ronaldo. You look at some of the players that might be on that football pitch. Scott McTominay, Varane, Harry Maguire. You're also looking at like some Marcus Rashford potential. If Ronaldo stays Ronaldo. Sometimes you've got half a squad worth of players that should be able to get their head on any ball that's played in that box. I just wonder, do you put Christian Eriksen or find somewhere to accommodate Christian Eriksen in that side? Well, he's good on the ball, but he's also worth his weight of gold in set pieces, which can give you 4 or 5 more chances a game.
Yeah, James's point's actually well made, but the thing is, we haven't had a tandem of being able to switch out, have we, before, when you've got a tandem of McFred, so to speak, and then you've got a tandem of Donny and Bruno, and you've got a tandem then of Eriksen and de Jong, say de Jong comes, wow. I mean, the rotation that you can do, you can rest de Jong if you want to put Eriksen in, you can rest Eriksen if you want to put de Jong in, you can rest Bruno for Donny Van Der Beek. It's brilliant. We've been crying out for this for ages. Ferguson was an absolute master of doing that. He really was a master of it. Teddy Sheringham, if you remember, James, when Teddy Sheringham came, he was really highly sought courted.
I wasn't alive.
Sorry, I forgot.
You must have been. You're joking. You was alive.
No, I wasn't born before we won the treble.
No,
what?
No, I was born in 2000.
Yeah, he's born in 2000. He's Jake's age. He's my lad's age. I know you're a year older, actually, than my lad.
Wow.
Anyway, my point being is that the 99 season is it really is a brilliant example. And earlier than that, when Roy Keane came in, when we had Paul Ince, Ryan Giggs and Lee Sharp, you had Sheringham and Solskjaer, Cole and York. There's always a tandem. We've had this tandem in and around the squad where you can rotate these players. I think it's absolutely magnificent if we could do that. So that's how I would view it, James. I could be wrong, mate, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, Stu kind of took the words out of my mouth. I know James was pointing out. Yeah, what James was pointing out is partially true. Like, I don't think around the whole team we're gonna have the type of depth we would like, but it's looking like we're gonna have a lot of depth in that midfield, which really isn't a big issue. So yeah, if we can get that kind of like a carousel of midfielders and let people rest, let people be fresh, let people attack in the spots where they're going to be effective in, it's going to be really big in the midfield. And then just to also go off something that you guys were talking about with the manager point as well, like, I think it's from off of what Stu was saying, how he doesn't like that arm around the shoulder thing. I think a really good manager knows how to do it, like, knows how to figure out each player, and he knows who he can yell at and get into their ass and get pissed off at, and he knows who he needs to like talk to and be like, listen, you need to get your shit right, but it doesn't have to be as aggressive. So I think it's important. And like one of the things that I could think of, which I know Stu wouldn't like, is like Phil Jackson with the Chicago Bulls. When they got Dennis Rodman, they let this guy go to Vegas and be drunk and drugged out off his ass because they knew come game day he was going to get you 20 rebounds. He was going to defend 1 through 5 on the court. They knew he was going to show up. So
I just because you're all agreeing with each other and no one said they agree with me at all. I'm just going to bring up Martin's comment because he's sort of hitting on with Ericsson what I was hitting on as well. So thank you, Martin, mate. You're welcome on the show anytime, anytime you like. And anyone, by the way, who says I agree with Ben will automatically go on the screen. So thank you. I'm just putting that out there for future reference.
I've just realised we could remove Ben at any time, couldn't we?
You could have been logged out.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I'm only joking, mate.
James doesn't have the minerals for that. He was born in the year 2000. It's called snowflake mentality.
Wasn't that a song?
What, born in the year 2000? That's 3000, wasn't it? Busted.
Oh, damn.
Anyway,
Sorry.
3000.
I forgot. No, that's what I was going to say. James, I want to come back to you quickly on a point because around player confidence, on player confidence, how good is it for the players to be away from the UK, be away from the English media in some sense, be away from Old Trafford, to be in different cultures and having non-pressurized games as well to play in, because pre-season friendlies are pre-season friendlies for a reason. Do you think this is a good way for teams? Because let's face it, they're not going to be able to get confidence boost in front of 75,000 fans at Old Trafford playing against Liverpool whilst they're playing poorly. It's only going to add to the pressure, isn't it? So is it good that they're away?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's obviously a very small part of the reason why they go away. Obviously, the financial aspect, if it's United, is going to be the main reason. But you go into a place where there's not as much media coverage. They're allowed to prevent the amount of media coverage as well. And I think you missed out the point that going to places like Thailand, places in Asia, it's where some of the most passionate United fans live. It's where some people worship these United players.
Back to the States for preseason.
Yeah, exactly. These are
apparently last time they went, there was this guy, and apparently his name was Hamar. Apparently he just kept hounding them at the team hotel. Apparently just kept going up to the windows going, guys, I've got some high grade shit. And they were like, no, not now, Hammer. Not now, Hammer. So they're not going to go back to the States.
We're not going to be going to the States with Ronaldo on our side anyway, are we? I think that was a legal issue there, but
that is actually true.
All right, well then let's sell them. No, okay.
I think that's actually technically true as well.
I think James is right, actually. I actually do think James is right. I always agree with James. Like, he never agrees with me, but I always agree with James. But I actually think he's right.
War off. Bloody hell. What's going on here?
One thing I would say, though, and I genuinely mean this, and it's a point I brought up a couple of weeks ago, is that we talk about confidence issues, but none of our players know how to play themselves back into a game. If they've made one or two dodgy passes, then they go hiding instead of actually getting hold of the ball and playing themselves back into the game. I think Ten Hag will absolutely instill that back into them. But James is right. I think, apart from the financial aspect, let's go and play Liverpool. Let's not worry about the result, because the result really doesn't matter. It's how you play. So how you play from match one to, we've got 7 pre-season friendlies. I think we haven't, or 6, something along those lines.
Yeah, but we've got that ridiculous one where we're playing in Norway and then we're playing the next day at like Rayo Valenco. So they're not. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be 6 games, isn't it, for most, or 5?
6. So how you start on game 1 to how you end on game 6, you must see that step up. And even if you get tanked 4-0, it doesn't really matter. If you've run harder in game 2, run harder in game 3. Your possession stats are better in game 2. Your possession stats are better in game 3. You get more interceptions in game 2, more interceptions in game 3. Your strategic pattern's better. As long as all that increases throughout the results matter not. So when we come 7th of August or 8th of August, whatever the date the game will actually be, when we take the pitch against Brighton, the players are drilled and they're ready.
Mm-hmm. I think that moves us on nicely. We've spoken about new signings. We've spoken about the deadwood. We've spoken about the confidence levels. I suppose let's talk about about the levels or off the back of what you're saying there, Stu, and the progression side of things with pre-season. A lot's been made of United's poor fitness. Now, there's a saying in football: the main reasons why you play pre-season friendlies isn't for the results; it's for the fitness. So, Stu, when you go into pre-season, what will you be looking at for these players? Is it all about the fitness, or is it getting that competitive edge back?
Well, you've got to turn up with a level of fitness. So when you turn up and you have your bloods taken, you do your oxygen, you do your lung test, and that you need it to be at maximum output. So that's the type of thing you are doing when you're on holiday.
Unless you've got an asthma pump.
Unless you've got an asthma pump, yeah, you're fine. Then you're absolutely fine. But those are the types of things you do. So
even the Liverpool fans,
yeah. So when you walk through that door. And the doctors get hold of you. The doctors send in a report off to the manager. The manager's looking at it saying, brilliant. So I can start at this level of fitness training with them. We know we were unfit or weren't working hard enough in games. We know all of this. That is going to change under Ten Hag. One point I would make is if you are a Jadon Sancho or you're a Marcus Rashford, you're any player at Manchester United, when you knew Ten Hag was coming, which is probably in April, I'm guessing these lads would have known he was coming. You should have found out everything you need to know about the guy. What is his fitness levels? How many yards are these players running in every single match? You know, what's the output that I need to achieve to play in a Ten Hag system? And you make sure that when you walk through that door at Carrington on June the 29th or whenever it was, you're at that level. You owe it to yourself as a professional footballer.
Yeah, I think, James, there's also quite a few players in our squad that has been in and out of the team last season because of injury issues. So how important do you think pre-season is for those players to get themselves properly fit for the season ahead? Because, again, you don't want to be rotating 4 or 5 players every 1, 2, 3 games, do you? You want to have a consistent team that can build consistent patterns and be able to go out there and do the job for the manager.
Yeah, definitely. I think the name Rashford springs to mind. I don't think he's ever had an injury that he's been allowed to fully recover from. So if we can, he's obviously had a few months. He wasn't in the team as much as he has been recently either. So a good couple of weeks of doing little to nothing, ease him back in these games, get that match fitness back. I think that could do him the world of good. But yeah, like you said, it's vital for pre-planning. And I don't know if Stu covered it or not, but you know, Ranić was on record saying that this team is disgustingly unfit. This team is not capable of doing the running that my style needs. So it's crucial for some of these players to utilise this as best they can, get the physical levels ready to go and compete in the Premier League, because you could see it from afar, but to have it actually confirmed by the manager that these players aren't up to scratch physically, it's damning. And I think they really need to sort of get their arse into gear and put the work in on these tours.
Hammer, do you want to jump in? What do you make of all the stories around? Obviously, we know what Rangnick said, but also Ten Hag likes to play a high tempo style of football in some ways, although he's quite pragmatic with the way he does approach games. And then you've got the flip side of it as well. He does like the press. Rangnick tried to press. The team wasn't fit enough. So for you, how important is fitness over the next couple of weeks?
Well, first I want to say, did he really say disgustingly? Because that's
he didn't say disgustingly. I don't think that's the sensationalist headline that James wrote, I reckon.
Oh, gotcha. All right. No, yeah, I think it's really important. I think fitness, you know, and it also depends on the sport, right? I think fitness in something like football is one of the top things. Whether it's just I don't think it matters what type of style you play when it comes to football, right? Like, yeah, you want to say press and all that type of stuff, but you know, football is running consistently over and over, and just, you know, there's not really many breaks, especially at that type of level. So I think a professionalism thing is what is an issue with some of the people in this squad as well. You know, like Stu said, you should, whether it's Ten Hag, whether it's freaking Jose, you know, you're going to park the bus and whatever, doesn't matter. You should be coming in at a certain ready and a certain fitness and a certain level to do whatever it is required. You know, and it's kind of confusing why professional players, especially at a club at Manchester United, would let themselves drop that much fitness. You know, when whether it's Ronaldo that's been there, or whether you look at other top athletes, not just in football, like the best of the best kept themselves at a certain level over their entire career. So, like, I don't understand how players can't do that. So yeah, it's really important, whether this was 10x press style or not, to when you're coming in, you need to come in ready and you need to come in fit. And again, like I said, especially for football, right? Like I played both footballs, and I was a lineman in the other one. I didn't have to be fit to be a lineman. All right, I had to sprint for 10 seconds and I got a break. So I was good.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot's made of United's fitness, and I think there was a story when United went back into pre-season training. It was like apparently one player weighed in or something, or they came in and they was really overweight for where they needed to be. And when Ten Hag asked some staff at Old Trafford about it, apparently that they've done that for a long time, apparently at the club. So I wonder who that player is. I mean, we can take guesses, but we're not here to jab. So
just talking about that, Ben. Do you know who was the optimal player? Martial.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me though.
He was the optimal player. He was the one. He was the only player that was the optimal.
He's a very lean. He's a lean guy though, isn't he? And he does live his life right. I don't think anyone else has questioned that. It's just overall where is his quality at? I think is a big question. I think, and we need to see this year. We need to see.
I think we will. I think he'll start against Liverpool.
Yeah. We'll wait and see. I think we'll definitely see two teams against Liverpool, and it'd be quite exciting.
Yeah,
right, my final bit, and I'm going to come to James first on this because I know Stu's going to have a very fascinating opinion on it. So we'll come to Stu last on this one. It's squad unity. I think Callum mentioned it and Jay mentioned it on the fan channel forum that we did. Would you go to war with your fellow players if you were in that squad of that squad of players? And I think a lot of us, when we went out on that pitch last season and we watched and we saw that the way that they represented the club and represented each other and formed a unity and formed a team, you wouldn't go to war with that lot. So how important is it, James, that on this tour that team tries to find that fire again? They work on that unity. They find that bond and they become. They start to have that relationship, I suppose. I was going to say brothers at war. I mean, we're not going that serious, but you do. When you go on that football pitch, you're going out for each other. So how important is that? And how much do we take away from some of the inside videos that we see on social media?
I think firstly, it's important you said the word again in there because, Ollie's last season at the club, we've not seen a squad more united since Fergie. That everyone was saying how much we love this team. We saw the celebrations after every win. It really felt like something was building. It was a unified group of players. Now, we're not here to point fingers. We know something went wrong last season. We don't know where exactly or why exactly, but it's shattered now, isn't it? So
are we not here to point fingers?
If we're not pointing fingers about fitness, we're not going to point fingers at Ralph Rangnick and Ronaldo tearing the dressing room apart. But
okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. We won't point fingers then.
But anyway, yeah, I think it's impossible. You watch. I know it feels very childish of me to say, but you watch those videos. It's impossible not to get excited. It's impossible not to like these players again. It was absolutely a PR move. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's exactly what it was designed to do. But you seeing Anthony Martial smile again, just that alone makes you think like this is finally his 30-goal season. It's frustrating that I'm still so blinded by a love for this club that I can just completely overlook last season, and will love these players again. And I hope they can learn to rebuild that bond. I hope Ten Hag recruits the right players that will add to this squad in terms of a cohesion unit, in terms of adding to the social group rather than conflicting figures and players that won't get us involved. But yeah, I think this preseason will be crucial to rebuild some of those bridges.
Hello to James, hello to Bex, hello to Lucky. There's loads of you jumping in the live chat. I'm going to try and get through some opinions in just a second. Get through the lads first quickly. Hammer, you watch a lot of American sports, and also I know that you're obviously on socials quite a lot. It's obviously a big thing for the United Twitter team putting out loads of behind the scenes videos. We've got the new blooming GoPro thing now as well that the players are using to show us behind the scenes footage. What do you make of all that? Are you reading anything into that? Because it seems like a happy camp at the moment.
I think it's definitely a decent amount of PR. I've both with American sports and football and everything like that. I've gotten very aware of people like to show friendly stuff, and then 2 months down the line they're at each other's neck or something like that. I think unity thing is really important in any top team, like trophy winning, title winning, that type of team, because when you get into those deeper parts of the seasons, you're going to have times where there's going to be bumps in the road where shit's going to hit the fan. And it's those teams that are either going to keep their heads up and keep going forward, or the teams are going to start pointing fingers. And you all see where the different things end, right? So I think it's important especially, like I said, for a title team. There's no way we're going to rebuild a culture if we have a locker room that's split. And there's like one of the things that I was annoyed by is all the cliques that they said was starting to build up last season and stuff like that. It really shouldn't be split to that point where there's, like only certain players hanging out with certain players or talking to certain players and things like that. So yeah, it's important. And I think somebody like Ten Hag is going to be pretty like I think you guys said, he's very hands-on, not just in training, just in terms of overall. So I think he's going to be really important in making sure everybody's on the same page and the right mentality.
I think the one thing I've learned so far from the behind-the-scenes footage is that I don't think I've heard of a lazier nickname than the McTerminator. Sort of sounds like a new McDonald's burger. Didn't really know what to call it. So I'm just going to stick the word Terminator on it and see where we go. Stu, we know how important it is, so we don't need to go in how important it is that you have a squad together that will go to battle with each other, no matter what that is. We used the example of Ronaldo kicking the ball at the Liverpool player on the fan channel forum, and literally one person going over to back him up when all the Liverpool players went over and started making a deal out of it and doing argy-bargy and handbags and everything. We know the importance of that. But with social media now, lazy journalism a little bit as well with how much we look into things and put everything under a magnifying glass. Is it dangerous if we overlook into some of these, videos that are on the plane of everyone looking happy? Or do you think that that doesn't really do damage? It's all good because we're actually getting a little look behind the scenes into these footballers' lives and into the camp?
Yeah, look, I think modernism, as I call it in football, is the way forwards. I think it's great for kids, of all ages to see inside, a camp. So when players are going on tour, etc., what it's like. The players themselves, when you're in that dressing room and you're looking around, you need to make sure that you're being challenged by not only the person sitting next to you, to your right and to your left, but to the person sitting across from you. And then that person from his right and his left. You need to be challenging each other daily. So you need to be pushing each other at training. You need to be pushing each other on the pitch. It's none of this getting in a huddle and, doing some kind of speech before you go out. That's all nonsense. You need to know that if you make the most ridiculous mistake, somebody's going to be chewing your ear off. And you've got to take it, you've got to suck it up, and you've got to make sure you don't make that mistake again. That's what we're sadly missing. And modern day football, and I'm old, by the way, so if there's any new viewers to the channel, I'm old school, I'm 52 years old. I played a different game to what's being played today. But
did anyone else just hear Hammer's damn?
Yeah.
You said 52.
Sorry, I was
just
like, it was from Kevin Hart.
No, that's okay. You want, my point being is, that you want to be challenged. So if you do make that mistake, then you want someone in fact, you want 5 players telling you not to do it again, pull your finger out, get your head in the game, etc., etc., etc. Now, I was a centre half, so it was important to me that my partner, read the game the same as me and played the game the same as me. So that if I missed a header, he'd be there, and vice versa. If he was stepping out 10 yards, I'd be covering his position. You need all this kind of communication and challenges. You don't have that, unfortunately, in the modern game. I'm not saying they're all snowflakes, etc. I'm not saying that. The game has changed. I get all of that. But the fundamentals of football hasn't changed. And the only way you win games is by that unity, and not purely by aggression, but by unity, knowing that if you've walked into a dressing room and you've won the game 3-0, you're still being challenged as to why we didn't win 5-0. You hit the post from 4 yards out. What's going on? You need to be challenged, and that's what I always look for. So whenever I walk into a dressing room, that's what I expect, that's what I want, and that's what I need, because I've got that aggression. I'm vocal on the pitch, but I shouldn't be the vocal one. Everybody needs to be vocal, and that's how you build a team of unity. So there's various ways of doing it. There really is, but that's just my way. So.
I mean, interesting points made all round. I think ultimately, we're all in agreement. We need to look at these 5 areas and we need to make improvements on it, and they will have a big impact in terms of how we start the season as well. If we can hit the ground running, and they're impacting pre-season now. So there we go. We've covered squad unity, confidence, individual players needs working on, Deadwood going, also transfers in. And I think it's massive for us that we also have a look at how that style of play is adapted on the pitch, and we see it. Obviously, fitness also a big issue that we've raised there. Thank you, guys. It's been brilliant having you all on. We've got a dash. We've done about an hour 20. I was meant to be honest, do about 20 minutes less because I need to get back home. But there's a lot going on at the club, and hopefully we can push forward quickly with whatever our direction is. I will just say this: someone from Sky Sport, which I believe is that Italy, saying that United have opened talks for Leandro Paredes from Paris Saint-Germain.
Oh, I did
I don't
hear
know how
that.
true that is. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I read that earlier.
Yeah, really interesting. So we're waiting to see what's what. Look, still those of you watching, let's get over 50 likes on this. Please hit like. If you've watched to the end, leave a comment on anything. Just leave a comment. It all helps us grow. On any of our videos, if you can leave comments and like, it helps us grow massively. And of course, naturally, if you can hit subscribe, you'll never miss a show moving forward. So please do. We have loads of great content coming up, including tomorrow. We will drop a video with Mr. Mujak. Knows everything about the Manchester United Academy, has watched loads of players come through, and he continues to do so. Tony's going to be on discussing some of the youngsters going on tour. So you can learn more about those guys before the game against Liverpool on Tuesday. And also we'll be talking about some of the youngsters that haven't gone on tour, but are close to breaking through potentially into the Ten Hag squad. So please make sure you do that. Check out All for United WFC as well, where we cover women's football and the women's Euros at the moment. Go and watch Stu's tactical special on Ten Hag as well with Ajax. I think we're going to drop another special this week, hopefully at some point on the attack as well.
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
So fingers crossed that'll come soon. Go and follow James. Go and follow Hammer. Go and follow Stu. That's all the plugging done. You guys have a good rest of your Sunday.
Thank
and
you.
We'll speak to you soon. Take care, guys. Ciao for now.